All right, so we're recording now. This is the third person starter asset build a maze assignment. So to get to this point, I've already gone to the Unity Assets store and I've already found the third person starter assets and I've saved them to my profile. I've already downloaded them and this is where we start. And most of the time you see when import, it'll ask something about installing or upgrade dependencies. I've tried both ways and you will want to install and upgrade those dependencies. That's going to be important because dependencies means that there's something there that the project needs in order to operate, successfully, efficiently, or without errors. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. So while we're waiting, we are going to think about what's next. A window's going to pop up next, and it's going to say, what do you want to import into your project? Because downloading it and importing it are two different things. Downloading it gets it to your computer once again, and importing it brings it into the project. And I'm also working on 2021. You'll see that on the asset right there, it says supported by 2020 and higher. Yeah, we'll enable those. So it's using a different input system as well. So this means I might have to download from the Unity registry an input system to go with it if it's not working properly, which means I might have to restart Unity. And there it is. As I say it, it restarts it. And this is okay. So remember, when you teach this in your class, this is always going to happen. Always plan on day one of a 45-minute class being a prep day. There's always a prep day with every new project. Okay, so we've imported the starter assets, hopefully. Oh, no, it just installed the dependencies. We have to go back and make sure that we import it, because you should see over here, yeah, you should see your assets imported, but I don't see that they've been imported. So I have to go back, go to my starter assets, and I have to click import. We already did this. So I'm guessing that because we went through all that, it did not save the project. It just installed all the dependencies. And so we're going to have to import it all over again. Now, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you have to re-import things. It just happens to be that way. Perfect. So you can see that on the left-hand side, we have the project window, and we have all of our starter assets as their own folder there. That's perfect. We know it's there. That's great. Well, let's go ahead and let's get the rest of the things we need. So up in your package manager, go to your registry. We're going to want to go all the way down to Universal Render Pipeline. And you are going to want to see a check mark next to the URP. The check mark says that it's installed. If it's not installed, you're going to want to click on it. I'm going to click on something else. You're going to want to click on that install button. URP is vital for this one. Click install. Now, if you're going to be using this in your classroom, if this is something that you're going to want to use in the future for other projects, I would also right now install things like the Text Mesh Pro. Don't worry about updating it just yet, but make sure that you have the Text Mesh Pro. And what's awesome is as Unity gets, bigger and better, you can go up here and you can get packages. So like there's a Cinematic Studio package, which has things like an FBX exporter, it has your Cinemachine in it. You have a 2D package, which has all of these things. So if you are going to want to work with sprites with your kids, this is something that you would want to install as well. Yeah, so like they said, oh, these are the most common packages that, like things added, and they've combined them. And they said if you install this one, it installs all the other ones like a tree. But for us, we really only need for this project the Universal Render Pipeline right there. Boom. Perfect. All right. Let's go to our starter assets. And we are going to want to find our scenes folder. So where is the scenes folder going to be? It's going to be under third person controller, under scenes, and you're going to see the playground. Double click the playground. And My God, so bright, so bright. My goodness. And if I zoom in, oh my goodness. My goodness. Now, sometimes, by the way, you'll have a problem where the student has already done everything in terms of they've converted it, nothing's showing up. Well, the problem is they need to zoom in on it, and that one was a one and done. Okay, so you're here, you're pink boxing. What's happening? So there's there's a couple things. The asset's either been deactivated, it's been deleted, or it hasn't been converted to the URP. So what I'm thinking here is we haven't converted anything. So we have to go to Window, we have to go to Rendering, we have to go to Render Pipeline Converter. Now, if that does not show up, if you only see lighting, Light Explorer, and occlusion culling, you need to go back and reinstall the render pipeline. And that actually reminds me, there's something that we also didn't install, which was Pro Builder. That was the other one. We're going to also want to install Pro Builder before we get any farther. For this assignment, I like to introduce Pro Builder and the idea of gray boxing or white boxing. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what the true difference is between the two, gray boxing and white boxing. I guess it's to what extent are you in the pipeline, and to what extent are you going to use this asset in your actual design, in your actual scene. Otherwise, to me, it's all pre-production. It's all pre-alpha. You use the Pro Builder to put things in your scene that can help you test out your scene. A lot of times you'll see games, they'll import assets that have already been made. Cool. So we got Pro Builder. That's good. Should have done that first. All right, next up. Let's get back to this. We're pink boxing it. This is completely standard. You need to be completely comfortable with this, with being able to look at something and be like, oh man, how do I get this working? So there's a couple ways. Like I said, there's Windows, there's Rendering, and there's Render Pipeline Converter. That's the one we're going to start now. Otherwise, you could choose an asset. You can find its material. You see grid orange here. And then you can go to your edit and you can go to Rendering, Materials, and you can convert that asset. But what this method right here, what it requires is it requires you to find the material in the material folder and then select it. Then you have to go through this process. Where if you go through Window, Rendering, Render Pipeline, you'll get all materials, right? Can you silent script all this stuff? Yes, there is a way for you to create a script, and whenever you import something, it can automatically follow that. 100% that's true. And even so, you can even create a template. So like I could take this right here, when I'm done with it, create a template, and then inside of a template, there's a spot for our script. So that way when it opens up this template, it runs these scripts automatically. And that's the best way to do it. So if you want to do this with your kids, that's the best thing to do. Get the template, tell them, download the assets, open it up, boom, the script runs it for you. That's the power of a template, by the way. And templates are mainly used for, like, if you want to create a basic scene in a game, you want to reuse that scene throughout the game, it makes sense because you have all these interconnected ideas, right? Like if you want to do a turn-based game or, something like that. And every time it populates it, you want to run the exact same things, boom, put a script in there. There's nothing scripting can't do. Good question. So go to the drop down, and we want to do built-in to URP. Right now we are in the built-in engine. We want to convert it to the URP. The reason I do this, by the way, is because your exam has a lot of questions on the URP, and doing this all the time gets them thinking, as well as you if you're going to take it. Well, what is the URP? It's a universal render pipeline. It's a very generic. It's meant for like mobile games. It's meant for like smaller games that aren't graphic intensive, which we shouldn't be right now. Okay, so you're going to want to click on all of these boxes if you can, if they populate. There you go. You'll see I'm having trouble selecting it. So after you've selected all the boxes, you're going to want to click Initialize Converters, and that's going to find all of the items in the scene for you that it's going to want to convert. You'll see they'll populate, just like what you did here. See the materials populated. That's great, which is like the positive of using this method. You click Convert Assets. and my scene is now fixed. Beautiful. And this is where things feel a lot less stressful. Don't forget, right click to move around in place with the camera. Hold down Alt and left click. It allows you to rotate as well. It's a different type of rotation. All right, so this is Alt. This one is rotate in place. Right, that's my right click. Middle mouse wheel allows you to pan. So those are the three different types of movements. Right, and if you want to test it, you go ahead and click play. Remember, in play mode, everything is temporary. Changes are temporary in play mode. You can walk around, you can jump. Boom, it works. This way you can have, go ahead, run around, jump around, see what you can do. Great, awesome. And look, that's even called gray boxing in there. I never even noticed that before. Cool. So what's next? Well, I want to show you a few things. On the right-hand side is our inspector. It has all of our components. It has our transform component, which is what everything has. It has a mesh component, which basically, if you don't know what a mesh is, it actually has a symbol that looks like it. A mesh is a way to apply some type of, I call it like an invisible fabric. It's like the fabric of space, but it's built using squares or triangles. And a lot of meshes use triangles these days. That's kind of what you want when you want to make something in Blender. You want to use 3-point systems, and then you want to, that's actually getting into optimization at that point. What type of meshes do you have? But just know for us, meshes are square for us, and it's like a blanket. It's like a wrapper of a candy wrapper. Like you take a piece of candy, you put a wrapper around it, whatever its shape is, it fits it. That's kind of what a mesh is. A box collider sounds like what it is. It gives it the ability to have a collision. If I click edit, and you'll see that that's the box collider of this guy, right? We'll get off of that. And then we have materials. And now you'll also see that there's a lot of like different shapes and icons going on in the scene. And that's nice. If you want to get rid of them, these are called gizmos. On the top right up here, if you click toggle visibility of gizmos, it gets rid of all of those things, which is very nice as well. Sometimes your scene can have a lot of items in it. It has a lot of these boxes, event colliders. It can have empty game objects. It can have event colliders. I mean, you name it, right? And it's just got a lot of things on it. So you can go to your gizmos. You can even expand it, and you can turn on and off what you see. So don't forget that that ability does exist as well, to turn on and off the icons. And that's up here. Those are called, that's the gizmo section. Cool. All right. Now, this is where I tell the kids your first assignment, and this will be your first assignment, and I'm not going to do all of it, but I'm just going to show you what it is to add the 6 types of primitives to your scene. And I want you to create a maze. And you have an area here. Oh, goodness. You have an area here. And I would suggest using this area up here. Go up to the house, go through the house, whatever you want. Use this whole section here to create your maze. So this is where I say first thing you want to do is right click in your hierarchy, create an empty object. The power of empty game objects is something to be discussed. Sometimes I use game objects to separate layers. Sometimes I use it to group things. And other times I use them as like managers. So this one will be the first one. This is going to be my 6 primitives. So what I'm looking for when I grade your work is a folder that talks about the 6 primitives. So inside of it, actually I'm going to do the error. I'm going to show you what it looks like. If you right click inside of it, you can do right click cube, and you'll have a cube that's a child object of it. If you right click outside of it, you have a 3D object. You'll notice that it is not a child object. So you might see both ways done. I'm looking for a cube that's a child of the 6 primitives folder. Now, if this does happen, you can left click, drag it, hold it, and now it's a child object of it. Make sure that you use that terminology as much as possible. Parent and child, there's grandparents and grandchild. There's all of these relationships that, vocab is important, especially with game design. You have to know what you're designing. You have to be able to apply the right vocabulary to the situation. Okay, I don't know where my cubes are. I'm all over the place. I've zoomed way out. I'm lost. I don't know where I'm at, Mr. Gavaney. I don't know where my scene is at. I can't find it. What am I doing wrong? Fear not. I want to find this cube. I left click it. put the mouse window inside of the cursor inside of the scene, and I press the F button, press it, and it will find the cube for me. Something that I've wanted to do is create a scene and have the kids, find this really small object in the scene and see who can find it first. Before teaching them the find method, the press F method, see who has like the cool ideas, who clicks on it and tries to find it, and then afterwards teach them, oh yeah, that's fun. Like give them like a little key or like a little treasure, like we're a pirate or something. I don't know. So anyways, you'll see that here is our game object. This is where you can use your different tools, your transformation tools. You have your moving this way, and this way. You have to know which way is vertical, what color is vertical. Vertical is Y. What color is Y? Well, it goes X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, R, G, B, right? X is R, Y is G, Z is B, X, Y, Z is R, G, B. You can see it up here in the gizmo, right? X is red, green, blue. On the test, you might be asked, we're working with this animation controller and we want to move this ball vertically. Which of the following is the proper, position to change? And it will give you 3 colors, and you have to choose the green. And then I don't know what that looks like. If that was me, I'd take a picture of the screen and I'd blot out X, Y, and Z, and I would have like selections on it and be like, which one would I want to affect if I'm going to go vertical? Vertically is in the Y direction, so I'd choose the Y direction. Anyways, so this is where I would say what you guys are going to do is take this and you are going to move different objects, and I want to see all 6 primitives, and you're going to create a maze for me. So cubes are exactly like what they sound like. So you can move them, you can rotate them. I prefer to rotate things not using this unless I have to have something very specific. Like I want this key on this desk and I have to move it this much. Like that's okay. I don't mind doing that. But for this project, I would much rather use like a rotation up here, like 45, 45, and 45. I gotta turn on my number lock. 45. You get the idea. I would much rather use this as much as possible. So please, when you are working in Unity, try to be as specific as possible and use your transformation component in the inspector. Okay, so we have a cube. I'm actually going to move my cube over here. And I'm going to keep my cube right there. Next up, I'm going to put in a sphere. Let's see where the sphere is located. You're going to put in, and now look, I made a mistake. That sphere is not part of that. It's not a child. I'm going to put in a capsule. Here's the capsule. I'm going to put in a cylinder. And I'm going to put in a plane. Now we're thinking.
Can you hear me, Gabby?
I can hear you. What's going on?
About time. It's been frustrating. Go ahead.
Yeah, perfect. I'm glad you're now live. And don't forget, I'm also recording at this point too, right? So this is where with the kids I tell them, like, look, now that we're in this port, now you can say like, okay, now I have a maze. What are planes used for? Right? These are floors. And then quads. What the heck is a quad? Oh. F for quad. This is interesting. So if you look at a quad doesn't really have a thickness to it. So I like quads as ways to like put like wallpaper on something. So if I have a movie poster, quads are great for that. So the difference between a plane and a quad is thickness. Planes can have thickness. A quad has whatever is the smallest unit of measurement for a thickness. What is that for here? I don't know. Like, is it like 0.0001 units, or is it 0.000001 unit? I don't know. At what point does a quad become a plane? I couldn't tell you. Is it greater than one of the smallest units? Possibly. So quads are great for like posters or a picture. So you could put like and eventually I would say like, you could put a sprite renderer on here on this quad. And you could find any image you want and put it on there and you show me your quad, right? Anyways, when I grade this assignment, I'm looking for the 6 primitives folder and I'm looking for the quad. I'm looking for, like where they are in space, and I'm looking for them to be utilized. Now, the most common one that you're going to find that's used inside of this project, because you're creating a maze, is you want walls. You want lots of walls. And so what we do is we create our first wall, and then I would duplicate it. And this is okay. So this is where I would create another empty object, and this is why I call it walls. Now, what do you want for a wall? What shape do you want for a wall? Is it plane or is it a cube? This is what, like whatever floats your boat on this one. I prefer cubes on this one, but you can do a plane. Let's find it. Let's rotate it around. Now, I know I'm moving pretty fast, right? But this is okay because, this is how I show the kids. And I'll leave this up for them to see, and I'll have my computer up. And I'll say, like now that I'm done, you go and you do it yourself. And I'll leave this up. You want to come up here to my computer? You want to work around with it? You want to see it? You want to touch it and feel it and see what's going on? Go for it. If you want me to show you, go for it. Right? But you guys have to, like learning Unity requires you to get in and press buttons. Okay. This is where we need to start stretching things out. On the test, you have to know all of these icons and what they do. This one moves them around. This one rotates them. This one right here is our scale tool, so this one's interesting. This is what we're going to use in order to create walls. You can scale it whichever way you want. You can even make a plane out of it. Do you see what's going on here? Here's my first wall. And then I can move it. And I don't care if the wall is below the plane. You see, like right here, the wall is below the plane. I don't care if that happens. Doesn't matter to me. If you have to be super precise, go for it. In order to duplicate it, Control D for duplicate. I'm actually going to rename this Control plus D equals duplicate. Use names to your advantage, right? You should name things in your game scene, what they are. But when you're teaching it and you're learning it, use the naming convention to take those notes too. I don't care. So we've duplicated it. Now we're moving it. Now I have a different wall. Okay. Very cool. And I need to get past this wall and actually need to move this so that way I can access it. I would suggest at some point stopping and testing your scene out with the kids. So this is where I would say click play and make sure that what you're doing is working. So you notice that here's our sphere. I can't walk into the sphere. I can't walk into the capsule collider. I can't walk into the cylinder. They need to be able to say these things out loud, what these shapes are. Now, here's a good question. Why can't I walk through these things? What is happening? What is preventing me from walking through these objects? Whenever a situation like this occurs, let's break it down. Let's use some pseudocode, actually. And this is a great time to sit down with your kids and start teaching them pseudocode. Write down what is happening. When I press a button, it moves. When this object, I don't care what you call them, when this player walks and touches this object, it stops. What is that? It touches it and it stops? Where is that occurring in the game? So this is our cylinder. By the way, if you can't see your mouse, like you can see my mouse, I can see my mouse on the screen. Like right now you can't see my mouse anymore, correct? How do I get out of that? Press the escape button. Pressing the escape button lets you get out of it and see your mouse button. So this is my cylinder, or capsule. What happens if I were to turn off the capsule collider and go back? Aha, I can walk through it, right? Oh, it makes sense. What's a collider? A collider, it detects when two objects are positioned on top or near each other. When I say on top, I think this coordinate and this coordinate are matching the same coordinates, or near enough that it says, "Oh, wait a second, you can't do this," or I'm reading this. This is occurring. What do you want happening? Well, because my capsule has a collider on it, and my player also has an object on it, a collider on it. Oh wait, where's the collider? Well, it looks like there's probably a skeleton or geometry or something else going on with my player that probably has that collider on it somewhere. So somewhere in this skeleton are those colliders that we're looking for. I mean, just look. These are all empty game objects that are named, and it has that stuff in it. I mean, it's just amazing, like how much work goes into like creating just a moving player, which is why I highly recommend always that you just find assets that work and bring them into your game, especially if they're free. All right, go back here. We're gonna go back to our cylinder or our capsule, and we're gonna walk through it again just to double check. All right, it works. You could ask questions like, what's the purpose of a capsule collider? Wow, like I can see why I would use a sphere. I could see why I would use a cylinder. I could see why I would use a cube, a plane. And now that we've looked at a quad's really small. Why would I use a capsule? Capsule colliders are one of the most widely used primitives in that it's used to detect collisions, basically for rigs, humanoid rigs. So when you want to put a collider around an arm, for example, right, you have, let's say, a game where somebody's swiping something and you want their arm to have the ability to take damage. Well, what kind of shape is going to collect that data? And most of the time, it's a capsule. And you'll see spheres for like heads. You'll see capsules for the body, and you'll see capsules for like the arms. So capsules are a lot of times used for detecting collisions for, like I said, for people that are taking damage or like NPCs. You put them on bodies. This is where you walk around your scene and you're testing it. And every time the kid does something like, oh, you need to test it, walk around your scene, keep test. Okay, I can't hit it. I'm walking on it. I'm walking around, creating my scene. Perfect. I'm out. Remember, whatever you do in play mode is temporary. Whatever you do in scene mode is not temporary. I call game mode play mode, by the way. Game and play mode are the same thing to me. I like taking my player and I like moving them because I get so tired of having to run through my maze. Wow, that was actually done pretty darn well. It's just two, up and over. It worked very well. I like to move my player so that way I can start right there in my maze. Cool. So what have we done so far? We've done 6 primitives. We've discussed them. Maybe not even greatly in depth, but we've discussed them. We've talked about play mode. We've added empty game objects. I've rotated an object, for example. What's left? Materials, lighting, and applying a script. Whatever is left on here is what we're going to do. We can also use Pro Builder to build things as well. So this is where, for me, what I would say is, once you get to this part, finish the maze using your primitives. Build, all you need is a couple of rooms. You probably need a ceiling, so like if you have a plane here, duplicate the plane, put it up. Now you have a ceiling, right? You want a wall? Duplicate that. Called it, and then remember, you want to also kind of start renaming things if you want. This is our wall. Our wall is definitely here. I want to rotate this wall probably around some axis. And if you don't know, take a guess. But to me, you see this red axis? If I rotate something around that axis seems to be right. So I'm going to start with the x-axis go 90 degrees. It seems to be correct. This is spatial awareness. This is going to help you develop as a person spatial awareness. Start changing the way things are sized, making sure that wall is the correct size. This is where you want to start probably using your shortcuts, QWERT. You get the idea. Build your maze. Have a room, leave a spot for a door, leave a spot so that way you have some lighting going on. Something's going on with my plane up top. Got to figure out what the error with that is, which is interesting to know. Whatever that error is, I can definitely see it. You get the idea. Stop, build a maze, get used to adding things, get used to moving things, get used to rotating, scaling, positioning, all that. That's super important. You want to get comfortable with placing objects first. Cool. Now we're there. What's next? Okay. I'm going to do Pro Builder as last. I'm going to move to materials right now. Let's go to materials. Let's add some materials to it. So I have this object here. I would like to apply material. You should see somewhere in here a folder that talks about materials. If it's not there, we need to create our own folder. So under your assets folder, right click, create a new folder, call it materials. As I've built and made my own games, I've realized that there are several folders that I see in every single project. A materials folder is one of those. Another one is scenes. Another one is prefabs. Another one is environment. Scripts is another big one. And then from there, it's whatever. I have another folder for scriptable objects because I use scriptable objects all the time on my turn-based games. So like whatever your game requires, make sure that you have a method in your brain of organizing this information. So we're going to create a materials folder. We're going to access that material, and we're going to create our first material. Right-click, create material. I'll leave that up for a second. Now, we're going to import an asset in, and it should already have a folder with all those assets, and it might even have a materials folder. Don't worry about that. But when we access it, I want to show you guys some things about it, because what's cool about the URP is that it actually comes with its own pre-built shaders. Some very common shaders. The materials have different properties. You have a metallic property, which is like shininess. You have opacity, which is like transparency. You have smoothness. It's all there. So you could spend a whole week on creating different types of materials. And that would be okay. And some kids really like that. Some people really like that. And I'm going to stop saying kids because this is really meant for more than just kids. So let's just name it. I'm just going to name it first material. You can name it whatever you want. Wood, metal. But if you're going to name something like wood or metal, be a little bit more descriptive. Like something that I've learned is you only need 5 words to describe something and search for it. So if you lost this project in the future, you have no idea where you placed an object. You have a search bar. What 5 words would you use to find that object? Would it be, well, I know I made an object that was a ceiling fan, but next to the ceiling fan there was a poster, and that poster had an alien on it, and it was about predators versus. So what would I use to describe that poster? Poster, aliens, predator, movie. Those are my 4 words. Search up those 4 words, see what populates. So be smart with your naming conventions. You don't have to think in sentences. You have to think in main concepts. Oh, cool. So we have our first material. We can do whatever we want with this material. You can change its base map, which would be its color. I call this hue. H-U-E is hue. Hue is pure color. And then with pure color, you have transparency. That's the A down here in your color wheel. So how transparent do you want that to be? You'll see that there's a slider for it. This allows you to create things like, so let's say you have a stained glass, in quotations. You want it to be like very light light blue, right? Very light blue, because you want it to look like it's been tempered or something. Because when you look at glass, it actually has a very, very, very light green. Actually, you can see the light in my camera right now. Not if you're watching this on YouTube. But if you look at glass, it does have a tint to it, it has a hue to it. But you can see through glass. You can still apply a color to it, change its alpha property, alpha being its transparency, its opacity, and you can give it, like I said, you can give it transparency. I'm not going to do that. You can change how shiny it is. So 100% shiny, and goes all the way down. Why would we want something to be more or less shiny, and what are the consequences of having a lot of shiny materials? I was watching a video once of somebody who created this spaceship, and it was gigantic. I'm telling you, like, the size of this thing was humongous. And his material properties on the spaceship was very metallic all throughout it. And he had this gigantic sun that was shining on the ship, and you saw, I'm telling you, hundreds of reflections on this thing. But when he was rendering it, the thing was moving like a PowerPoint. And it was like, okay, so dude, listen, you're going to have to figure out how to optimize this game, because if your object has if your scene has a lot of metallic properties to it, it means you're going to have a lot of light bouncing, and light bouncing is going to be very intensive on your rendering system. So you might want to think about your indirect multiple. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about. But understand that it can affect your lighting and your processing. I don't want it to have metallicness. And then smoothness. As you see, it has to deal with how the light is bouncing off of the material. So metallic says it's bouncing, and like, to what level is it going to, like, how intense is the light coming off of it? Whereas smoothness is about diffusion of the light. Does it come off as a point, or does it scatter? And then up here, you'll see shader. This is where you have a lot of built-in shaders. So like if you go to nature, for example, you'll see that it already has some built-in shaders for you. It has terrain. The diffuse and specular, that's what I was just talking about, how it scatters, right? You can give it tree leaves. Doesn't look like my material property is in here. I wonder if I have to convert that to the URP. And would it show? There's no upgrade to that. So this is just something that I can't use. So this is something that I would have to go to the URP and see if it's in here under nature, under tree. There we go. Now it works. But you see, even I'm having issues with converting sometimes because I'm working in the URP pipeline. Cool. So we've created our first material. What's next? I'm just going to Control Z things because I want to go back. I would rather just create materials or import materials. So here's my material. You can left click it, hold it, drag it, and apply it to objects. Another thing that you can do is click on the object itself, and you can add a material. It's actually already here. To an object. Or I guess in 2020 you can't add a material to it. What do they call it? Shader? No. I guess you just have to drag and drop it onto it, which is interesting because you'll see it pops up here. And then this is where you could change the material properties on it as well. Cool. So apply material. It's pretty easy. I believe for the exam you have to know differences between like what opacity is, what metallic is, what smoothness is, what alpha is, which are very easy concepts once you get used to it. Cool. Now, let's try this again. But this time, let's import an asset. Let's do what an actual game designer would do. Because it's cool to create these colors. And that's awesome. But what's even cooler is to have something else and bring it in and have it done for you. Because it saves you time. So let's go to Window. Let's go to Package Manager. I'm going to go to my Unity registry. And I believe I have a campfire asset that's free. All the links have been provided. you'll have them. So if this is in the video, if this is you guys here now, I'll send it. Everybody will have links to it. You can search for it in the Unity Assets Store, campfires and torches. You can, assets are free. Download these. Once again, download brings it to your computer. Importing it brings it into your scene. When we import it, what do you want to import? I'm importing everything. And you'll see a new folder has popped up called Piloto Studio. And this is where you can find the campfire. You have models, prefabs. You have just the models themselves. You have materials that are in here. And you'll notice that this happens. This is a very common theme when you import things into your folder. Look, it's all paintboxed again, right? So this is where you could convert these yourselves, or you're going to have to find something else to do if it doesn't convert over. And I'm not that good yet on how to convert things over individually. I would rather just go to rendering, go to pipeline converter, do this all over again. You have every time you import something, you need to do this again, which is once again why I do this. Why I say, hey guys, we're going to import a campfire, we're going to import these materials, and you're going to get these in. Because we have to understand that this process isn't a one and done. A lot of people think, at least a lot of students I've had think that once you do this process, window, render pipeline converter, it's a one and done. No, that's only done if you're not importing in anything else. Convert those assets, and it should convert those assets for you. And it's very nice. Once again, it locates them and it changes it for you. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Very cool. Looks like it does not work. But I've done this in the past and it should work. If not, we're going to change it ourselves. I want my campfire. Where's my small campfire? Bring this in here. Where's my campfire? Up there. So I want to create another folder, and that has my campfire materials, and I want to bring it all in here. Just as a small review, if you see blue, for example, this environment is blue, what does that signify? That's a prefab. Can you modify prefabs? Absolutely. If you modify the prefab itself, what happens? All the instances of that prefab also get updated. Now, can I change instances of that prefab and have different instances of that prefab? Yes. I'm going to show you that here in a bit. Okay. What is going on with our campfire? It looks like it is working. I can see the model there. It seems that our material is not working. It's missing a material inside of it. So this is where you have to give it a material property. So let's see.
Aaron said, check the README. It has the fix.
What's that?
Aaron said, check the README. It has the fix.
Oh, it does in the README? Under maybe I'm not finding the. Usually, if it just says there's a README, there is a PDF that goes with it.
Gavin,
Here we go.
are you using? Yeah, right there.
Let's see. Make sure the core render pipeline package is installed. Yeah, it's a shader issue. It's easily fixable by going to Assets, Shaders, and double-clicking on whichever Unity package file matches render your pipeline. So let's keep that up. Let's see. So that says go to Pilot Studios, Shaders. Oh, this is just great because I don't see the shaders, whichever mind that. All right, where exactly is the shaders? All right, because I don't see a folder that says shaders anywhere.
There's a link in the README to the shader package you have to download as a separate asset.
No kidding.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, this is why we do it, isn't it? Oh, look at that. Pilot Studio shaders. Okay. That means we need to add that one to it, doesn't it? Windows, Package Manager, Pilot Studio shaders. Where's that at? Oh, yeah, refresh. That is what I just downloaded, Pilot Studio. Okay. Yeah, maybe I should have tried this before with with this one, as I did not use this one last time I did it. The reason I did this one was because I just had a kid turn this assignment in literally last week, and he goes, "I use this campfire asset." I'm like, "Great, it looked absolutely phenomenal." I didn't realize he did all this stuff. I used the low poly nature pack. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was this one that I pulled in and used. Okay, refresh. There it is. This is the part about game design that turns a lot of people off. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like when I was first learning Unity, this turned me off big time. It was like, oh, there's all these free assets, but none of the assets ever worked. And I was like, I don't know how to get through this. I don't know how to turn these things on. Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. So this slider down here can help you. So we want the URP package. Okay. So, did you guys get it working yet? Oh, this is Unity 2022. It's 2D. I'm just gonna do all of them. See what happens. All right. Let's see if that works again. Oh, come on. because I haven't selected the material. So yeah, it's definitely there. I can see it now. That's definitely not the material we want on our. That's our fire. All right, let's just do this. Let's take a material. Let's make our own material. And let's just call it brick. We're going to give it a color, like more of a gray color. We'll apply it to this. We'll apply it to that. Cool. And then what we'll do is I'm looking for a prefab. And what I want is a flame. Where is my flame? One of these should have a flame. No, not finding it. All right, I recommend you guys do this, do this first, right? Because let's say I import that one. This one should have a flame with it, right? This is a prefab. So let's see, open. No, I don't want open model. I don't want to unpack this, do I? No. I got this one because the kid told me that he got his fire from here. I was like, this is great. I'm gonna do this one. How easy was it? All right, whatever. Materials are working now, I guess. But I don't like that the whole thing itself is turned to it. So this asset kind of stinks a little bit. Maybe I'm just not doing it right. Because like I feel like there should be a flame special effects in here somewhere. Do it one more time.
Gavin, go to re-import on the model. So go to the model folder. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, go to the model folder and just right click on one of those.
Nice. Good call. Here we go. That was a lot of work just to get something working. Okay. There you go. Just re-import it, huh? So that means, I wonder then if I were to go to Window Package Manager, and this was the campfires. If I were to import it again, or re-download and re-import, if that would fix it. That's crazy. It's not even giving me the opportunity to re-import that. That's interesting. A lot of the times it does give you the opportunity just to re-import it. So does that mean you have to do, if you want to do small campfire, do re-import? Look at that. Cool. All right. So there goes our materials lesson and the ups and downs of that one. Cool. All right. What's next on the list? If anybody has any questions or wants me to stop and do something, let me know. I'm gonna change that one. Oh, world materials. Yeah. I didn't even do that one yet with you guys. So also with this assignment, what I tell the kids and students is here's a cool asset. It's called world materials. This was also recently shown to me. I need to add it to my assets. This one was cool. I had a kid that made a really cool maze, and they used this package. And I was like, oh, send me a link to it. And they sent me this link to this material. And they used this to apply it to the different walls. So let's say I'm going to refresh it now. And this is where they can really start decorating their scene. Anyways, so the whole point is importing materials and then use materials to change the way that your scene looks. That's it. That was the whole point of it. I'm gonna cancel this because it's taking too much time. All right, we're in there. Glad it had a readme and we had to read it. All right, next up. Types of lighting. 4 different types. This one's easy. This one takes you a couple minutes. So this only occurs after you've created your scene, after you create your walls and all that stuff. You're good to go. So next up is lighting. So new folder, new object. These are the 4 types of lights. I'm going to turn this light off. It's starting to freak me out. All right. Right click, light, and you'll see you have 4 different types of lights. You have a directional light. My goodness. Where is that at? Right here. Did I turn my gizmos off? There we go. I did turn my gizmos off. I was like, where is it? Here's your directional light. Actually, I'm going to put these out here for us to see. So directional light. Let's go ahead and let's put in a point light. Let's get that out here as well so we can see the differences. You have a spotlight. Bring that out here. And you have a area light. Now, those 4 icons that you see on my screen are going to be tested on the exam. Every time you see an icon for something, understand that you have to know what it means. So like these QWERTYs up here, the hand, the T, the rotation, those, you have to know what those do. Which one is for stretching, rotating, which one's for resizing, which one's for panning, which one does all of the above. By the way, that one's easy because it has, at that symbol down here, it has the T, it has the rotate, and it has the arrows. It has 3 different symbols for it because they're all like in one. Okay, so back to the lighting. So real quick, this is a directional light. And what a directional light is supposed to mimic the sun. It's supposed to be your sun in your scene. So the sun technically is a point light. And it's so far away, but by the time the rays get to Earth, they're seemingly parallel to each other. And that's what you see happening here. A bunch of rays coming to us from a single light source, and it seems parallel. I'm trying to like zoom in, but you can't really see it. Right? So all of these rays here, you see like these white lines, they're parallel to each other. It's still a point source, but all the lines are parallel. So it's distinct from the point light, and that a point light goes all around. It's 360 times 360. It's not just 360 all around. It's 360 times 360 in all directions all around it. It's a single point that emits in all directions. This one's used for like a lamp, for example. A light source is really good for a lamp. You'll see as you get closer to the bottom that happens. Let me take this, let me rotate it around the x-axis 90 degrees. And you'll see now the light goes straight down. The sun is infinitely far away, by the way, right? It's not coming from just this spot. It's coming from super far away. And you'll notice that even if I change its location, it doesn't change the intensity of the light. All it does is it says, listen, this is just like the sun. If I get to the top of a skyscraper, I'm not feeling a more intense sunlight because it's, like the difference between me and the size of a building is like a couple hundred feet, maybe 500 feet. And the sun's, millions of miles away. So like, what's that comparison between hundreds of feet versus millions of miles? That's the same idea here. The intensity of the light doesn't change. So it's supposed to be, once again, it's supposed to be, like where is the sun coming from? And this is where you'll see the shading change because it's like the intensity of it. All right, so let's go. I'm going to actually move this one over a little bit so that way you can see it Point lights are pretty obvious what they do. All right, so here's our point light over here. I'm actually going to change this a little bit closer to the ground so you can see it. A spotlight sounds just like what it is, and the symbol makes a lot of sense. If you look at the symbol for a point light and the symbol for a spotlight, they're very similar. Point light goes all around in all directions, and it looks like a light bulb. That's how you can remember it. Used for a light bulb, right? Goes in all directions. A spotlight only has 3 of these arrows because it's a cone shape. And if we click on it, you'll see that it has that cone shape. So if I were to rotate this bad boy, you'll see on the ground right there, it's lights. And this is cool. This is how you can kind of like control, when something is seen in your scene. If I bring it closer, more intense, and it goes farther and farther away. So spotlights are really cool in a scene. They have lots of uses for it. So we'll just keep moving on because we're running out. We've been doing this for a while. An area light is defined as a shape that gives off a light in one direction. It's not unlike a spotlight, but a spotlight, as you see, it's cone shaped, right? It's always a cone shape. Well, the area lights, what does it look like? It looks like a square. So this is something that you would use to light up. Let's say you wanted to put this on a wall, and you want it to come off of like the light inside of your house. I'm so sorry. Like you're in a classroom and you see like you have these lights in your ceilings and they're rectangular in shape. You can do that. It is very possible to change just the general shape of this as well. You can change it to a rectangle. You can change it to a disc. All right, so you have different radiuses for it over here, and you could change the rectangle size over here, the height and width of it. And this is kind of cool. I thought I could use this to change it, but I was wrong. I'm pretty sure I have to use this in order to change it. Yeah. And it's cool. And you can change all the things over here. Like, do you want to cast shadows? Rendering is kind of cool. So, like, what do you want the light source to hit? Well, in this case, everything. You can change what your light source lights up. So, like, let's say you want to make sure that you have, like you have a bird in your scene, and it's flying, and you want to make sure that no matter what happens, that you can always see this bird, even if it flies underneath a cloud. You can put this bird on a different layer. You can say this light only is on this layer, and everything on that layer is affected by this light. And that's really cool. So like this, I could definitely see an assignment where it's like, all right, I want you to list the 4 different types of lights, and I want you to list 4 examples from video games. I want you to go play Elden Ring. I want you to go play Celeste. I'll actually choose 3D games. I'll play these 3D games, and I want you to try to find like 4 spots or 4 different examples of these lights in this game. And then maybe go through with them like different layerings for these things. So maybe that's something I should create, like, like how to put something on a different layer at this point too. So for example, we have a campfire here that we just put in. And it's up here. It's not even under my campfire folder. And let's say that you want to make sure that you put on a different layer, and you can go up here and put on different layers. So yeah, as you can see, there are 4 layers that you got going on. Transparent special effects. You have ignore raycast, water, and UI. Ignore raycast, that's kind of like what we're talking about. A raycast is, the definition of raycast is it's a light that comes from a light source and it interacts with an object and it bounces off of that object. That's a process, right? So a raycast is where the computer is detecting, predicting what is going to happen, what is going to collide with that light, and what are going to be the results of that. So I guess if you put something on the ignore raycast layer, you don't want it to be hit by your main source of light. Or maybe you don't want it to be affected by light at all. Whatever you want it to be. So you can have infinite layers if you want, by the way. But this is just cool to show the kids all the different types of light sources. And then say, hey, now in your scene, what I want you to do is I want you to put all 4 different types of lightings in your scene. And I want you to tell me how they were used inside of that scene. And if you don't want to see the gizmos, by the way, you can turn them on and turn them off. Now, of course, look what happens. If you can't see the gizmo, what happened to the gizmo? What happened to the icon? What? Oh no, it's gone. It's disappeared. Where did it go? My goodness. Ah, it's gone. Gone forever. It's moved. I would just pick the light source. It's 3, 3, 1, 18, negative 18. 3, 1, negative 18. Boom. So what happened is that gizmo was below the stage and you couldn't see it. This is why. It's like there are so many little things about Unity that's interesting. It's like, wait, that gizmo disappeared because you were below the stage? Yep. Here's an interesting fun fact. There was a game, I'm pretty sure it was Fallout, where they could not get this train to move along these rails. And they were just having a really hard time, and they were in that crunch time, they couldn't figure it out. So what they did was they took a model, an NPC, they took the train model that they wanted to get moving, they replaced the head with the train, so it's called train head. And what they did was they placed the object, the train itself, on top of the stage and the model of the NPC below the stage. So when I say above and below, right now I'm below it, and now I'm above it, below, above, below, above. And I could take this object right here, let's move this one over, and put it above and below it, as you see, right, above and below. And what they did was they created a path for the NPC to walk on, and they just changed the speed at which it walked along this path. So they just drew this path out, and they fixed it to this path. And that's how they got the train to move in the game. But they could not get this train to sit and constrain to these rails and move along the rails. They just couldn't figure it out. And so like that's one example of a game that uses objects above and below a stage to their advantage, because you can't see below it, right? So kind of cool stuff. So at this point, your kids and you and your students, and if you're practicing, you want to get good at it, you've created a maze. Now we've created some materials, right? We've learned, even I have today, more about importing materials. And oh, this one needed to have this FBX or whatever it was imported to go along with it to make it work. And then this one right here, we've made our own. We talked about metallics versus smooth, opacity, alpha channels. We talked about shading. We added 4 different types of lights, right? This is quite the project for you, And so, like I would say, most of my projects for this one took roughly 6 to 7 school days, with about 40 to 45 minutes of just work every day. I did have a couple students finish it within like 2 days. They're quick. They like, oh, duplicate, switch, good to go. They saw the vision, but I would say 80%, if not more, 90%, took 6 to 7 days to get this far, because they were like, oh, I want to choose the right materials. I want to choose the right asset. I want to make sure and then I had one student put a swing set in because he thought a swing set. So he spent like 30 minutes looking for a swing set. Maybe you want to provide the assets for them and say, you're using these assets. But I'm a little bit looser. When it comes to this, I want them to feel like it's a little bit more personalized and they enjoy the scene a little bit better. But also, like, if they're having problems, just be like, use this asset. Stop spending 2 days looking for a fire. Just use this. So that do what you need. Okay. So last thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate an object and apply a script. Oh yeah, we have to go back to Pro Builder. Okay, so let's add a script real quick. We're going to add it to this guy right here. We're going to add a script to this thing. I want this thing to rotate. I'll turn off my gizmos. I want this thing to rotate, because in a maze, you should know you've reached the end of the maze. So what we're going to do is go to here, and we're going to create a new script. For the sake of time, I'm just going to do right-click, create C# script. I'll leave that up so you can see it. You have to have Microsoft Visual Studio Code. You have to have Notepad++ or Notepad. Whatever your school is okay with, whatever you are okay with. If you have your own computer, if you have a classroom that has, I don't know, you're bogged down by rules and regulations, talk to your administration, talk to your tech team, talk to yourself, talk to your wife, talk to whoever is the IT department in your household. Whatever it is, you're going to want a script editor. I have Microsoft Visual Studio Code 2022 Community. It's completely free. If you go to Assets and you go to Preferences, you can go to External Tools and you can choose which external tool you would like to use. So if you have Notepad++, because that's the only thing you can get, this is where you can change that. Now, when you're first learning Unity, you might not be great at coding. Maybe you are great at coding. It's everybody for themselves at this point. What's important is that no matter what level you're at, you have to start learning to apply a script as soon as you can start doing it. You have to get over that fear. You might not be good at writing scripts, but there is a script out there for you to have. Let's go. I have Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. By the way, I believe that's an exam question. I think knowing where to change your scripting editor is on the exam. Like something in my brain was, because I took this exam like 5 years ago, but I think that's on the exam. And you have to go to external tools, and it's the external script editor. So crazy enough, that's on there. Okay, so let's create a new script. Now, whatever we name the script is super important. I'm going to call it rotate object. If the name of the script does not match the name of the class, the script will not work. Yes. The name of this script is called rotate object. If that right there does not match the name of the script, you'll see it in the tab. You'll see it over here. It will not work. And you're like, that sounds easy enough. But if you find code from somewhere else and you copy and paste it into here and then you save it, you can find it that you have an error and it doesn't compile. So like when you create a new script and you call it rotate object, it automatically creates the script for you and gives you the name of the object. It names it for you so you don't find that error. But once again, we're here. We have code that's been provided. I did name it rotate object, but what if I had said just object rotation? What if I made a mistake there? Well, double check that naming. Cool. So we're going to copy and paste this. Control C, Control A, Control V, Control S. Control A all, highlight everything, paste over it, and then Control S for save it. Highlight it, save it. Now, there's really not much to this code. There's so if you're good at coding, you're gonna look at this and be like, it's very simple, but I see what you've done. If you're brand new, you're gonna be like, I have no idea what's going on. What do I need to know? Couple things. One, when you get to the Unity programmer exam, you have to know that these are namespaces and you have to know what the namespaces are used for. For us, we're a football team. We have offense, we have defense, we have special teams. Every one of them has their own playbook. Are we going to run shotgun formation? We're going to run cover two, and how we're going to, what kind of punt formation we're going to use, right? Those are the playbooks. Those are your offense, those are your defense, those are your special teams. They all have their own specific codes. They all have their own methods, their functions, their playbooks, their variables, their values, whatever their systems are, it's up there. So the namespaces are your playbooks. That's for beginners. There's a little bit advanced people, you have to know if I'm going to have Text Mesh Pro, for example, I need to bring in my Text Mesh Pro playbook. And if you get confused, you can always chat GPT it up, say, hey, what do I need? This right here is a variable. I'm calling it rotate speed. This right here is an update method. You should know, as a game designer, or as a gamer, that a game runs off of frames. How many frames per second does a game run on? Well, what's the minimum required? Or at least what's the minimum that we want for fluid motion? When I say fluid motion, what do I mean? I mean, so that way we can't see the individual frames. At what speed does something have to play for you to not see individual frames? And that number is about 24 frames per second. Now, you could change your game to run at 30 frames per second. We like that. What do gamers like? A minimum 60 frames per second. What do a lot of people like? 120 frames per second. So what this does is every single frame that your game operates, it updates something. That's the update feature. So when this says update, it updates things. Void says it's not going to return anything. Like it's not going to output any number on your screen, like for you to see. It just updates something. There's no like visual feedback that you would get. And I say that, and I'm like, and some of you are going to be like, but wait, my position is a visual feedback. I get that. Don't worry about it. So what it's going to do is every single second, it's going to access its transform component. So whatever I attach this script to, so here's my cube. See this transform component? It's going to access its transform component. So let's take this script. Let's apply it over here. I left click the script, apply it. This script says it's going to access its transform component. It's going to access its rotation, and using different functions, it's going to change it. That's it. For you advanced coders, you can break that down however you want. For us, all we know is this script is going to access where it's located. It's going to access its rotation, and it's going to change its rotation. And it's going to change its rotation at a speed of 5. And it's always going to have, by the way, a very particular rotation. So if I click play, I turn around, the object is now rotating. It's very cool. If I want to change the speed of rotation, go to rotation speed, and I can speed it up. Or I can slow it down. Cool. So I tell them, I was like, listen, put your rotation onto your object at the end of the maze. If you want it to look like Super Mario Sunshine has these stars, and they literally rotate on an axis. That's it. That's all they do. So they have one script that's attached to this object, and it rotates. That's it. Like and all we'd have to do is replace this box with that star with all the special effects, and we're done. And we have Super Mario Sunshine, and we're making millions of dollars. It's that easy. We just made Super Mario Sunshine, y'all. That's a lie, of course. Cool. So let's go to our assets, and I'm going to create a folder called prefabs. So what a prefab is if you make an object that has certain properties or certain whatever, you can drag that object. So for example, here's my cube. You can drag that object from the hierarchy, drag it, drop it into the project folder, and you've now created a prefab of that object. So now if I go to my prefab, you can right click and edit that prefab, by the way, in isolation or in context. Open in context, open in isolation. Open in isolation, you see just that object in space with nothing around it. If you right click, open in context, it allows you to see where it is around the objects around it, but the objects are grayed out. Two different features, two different reasons. I think the reasons for it are fairly obvious. In context allows you to see it within the scene. In isolation means that I don't care what else is around it. I would just want to see just that. I don't care what's going on with it. That's great. Whatever changes you make to it will be permanent and will filter throughout. Sure. So I want to show you something. And I asked this is one of my, you walk in today, I'm going to ask you a question. And I'm going to be like, all right, how good are you? Okay, I just told you that if I take this and edit it, open in isolation, I'm going to change this rotation speed to 15. Click enter. I'm going to back out. And now it has a rotation speed of 15. If I take another cube, drag it in here, put it over here, bring it up a little bit, you'll notice that it also has a 15. Sounds good, right? Looks good, everything's good, makes sense. I created a prefab, no matter what instance of that prefab I drop in, they all have a speed of 15. Here's my question. If I do this, if I keep dragging cubes in here, right? Are all these cubes the same? Are they the same? To what extent are these cubes the same? And to what extent are they different? How are they different?
Functions the same, objects are different.
Yes, so the objects are different. You can see that they have different names up here. I'll put them. One's cube 1, one's cube. We'll put cube 1, cube 2, and cube 3. So if I was being very, very facetious in my classroom, I would say, give me the specific reasons why they are different. Because they are different. Because if they were all the same, it would just be one object. So as you said, Orlando, they're 3 different objects. Yes, but what else about them is different? They have a numerical difference. Somewhere there is some numerical difference. And the answer, because it's time, and I get plenty of time for this for the kids, is their transform. It is their position. If you look at their position, they all have different positions under the transform. So this is where, if they ask you on the exam, if I instantiate a prefab, how do I create different instances of the prefab while keeping them the same, or something along those lines? It's very wordy. It worded very weirdly. I'm pretty sure I got this question wrong. But if it asks anything like that, yes, you can create instances of the same prefab and they can have different properties. In this case, that property is the transform function. Something that I like to do too is start at this point, talk about nesting. What is nesting? So real quick, I'm going to create, no, I don't want that. I'm going to do this as fast as possible. I'm going to do a cube. I bring it to us. I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to do 3 cubes. I'm going to change it. Cool. So far, so good. Well, if you run out of space, just click the plus button up here and you can create more things. I'm going to call this the parent object. I'm going to drag and drop all of these cubes into the parent object. Cool. So now this means that they are all somehow connected to each other, right? I'm actually going to take my script that I made right here, and I'm going to apply it to these guys. I'm going to take my player. I'm going to bring my player back over here. I'm going to drag and drop him down. Not bad. I'm going to click play. I want to make sure it works. I want to make sure that my objects are rotating. It looks like something weird is going on with one of them. I see. I had multiple cubes there. Cool. All right, so this is another power of an empty game object. So you see I have 3 cubes. They're all rotating, right? Now, what would happen if I were to place my script onto this empty parent object? If I take this rotate object script, place it on there, I'm actually going to change it to like 50. What do you think is going to happen?
All 3 move faster.
Let's see. Very interesting.
What?
And then what happens if I change this rotate speed to 0? So wherever the center point is of this empty parent object, it says whatever. So this empty game object has a location, but it's still there. It's itself still rotating, and whatever's attached to it is also rotating around it. So this is how you can create cooler stuff, right? So what's something that you could do with this? This is where you could create like a sun that's spinning and planets that are spinning around it. So if the planets themselves spin, they have a rotation. But if you attach, Mars, Venus, Earth, you attach those 9 planets, you make them children of another object, and you put a rotation speed around that, you could have everything rotating. Obviously, that's not scientifically accurate because everything rotates at a different speed, but you get the idea at that point. This is where you could have an object like a sling spinning around, right? And if you wanted to be perfect, you'd have to find wherever the center point of this empty game object is. Look where my game object is. It's way down there below the stage. I need to bring it over and up, right? You see what's going on? This is nuts. This is nuts. Let's bring them down. This is where you have to be precise with your coordinates. So I would look at these guys and I would say, okay, their z is about 3. So all their y's are at 1.85. So let's change this thing to 1.85. Cool. Let's change all these guys to a z y of 1.85. Matches that one. All right, I'd have to center this game object now. Move this over. This is something that you can do with kids too. Try to get this thing to rotate directly around your parent object. Now it's rotating directly around it, and it's smaller. And if you don't like how these cubes themselves are rotating, you could always take this script, turn this script off. But also, which is kind of cool, you could change the rotation speeds of these guys to get something really crazy and show them that, look, this script affects whatever it's attached to. So, and you can change it. Like the one script can be changed from object to objects. So they're all changing at crazy speeds. So I could change this one's object speed to 0. I could change this one's object speed to 50. And you'll see that, right? Like this script affects just this one object. So just because it's a single script and it's in your project, the application can be individual. Rotate a platform, right? Like you have a platform on it. Perfect, right? You get the idea. But once again, this is the power of an empty game object. And so an empty game object is in my case here, it's a parent object, and it houses a location. And on that location, we attach something to it. Something else that you could do it to, and this is another very common, very, very, very common use. You'll see it here. It's called a player capture. And this one is an empty object as well. And you'll put this on a player, and this is where the camera itself is affixed to. So if I look at my main camera, it has a script, right? It actually might be player follow camera. You'll notice that this is, by the way, if you're looking at this like, how do I recreate this? You're probably not. Somebody was like, you know what? I want to create some way to have this camera follow this object, and they created by using different cinemachines, different objects, different codes, different scripts. They put this together, and then they packaged it and gave it to us. We use it. That's the best way for us to start learning. Use free assets that people have already done these things. We call these controllers, by the way, or managers. Those are the keywords, a camera controller, a turn controller, a turn manager, a card manager, right? A timer manager, right? You have these ideas. So in this case, it follows something. In this case, you'll see that it follows the player camera route, which is located on the player. So if I click play, right, Now, if I were to change the location of this player camera route, for example, I don't know if it will let me do it live. It will. It can change where you have the camera. So this is where if you have, like you don't want the camera directly behind the player, because right now, if you look at it, it's directly behind it, right? The player's dead center of the screen. But a lot of people like the camera to be like right over the shoulder, like Resident Evil or Gears of War style. But it's like, okay, well, here's where it's at. Let's change it. We want it to be above the camera. We want it to be above like that, right? Okay. Well, then what's next? This is where you start looking at, the camera settings. Like it's zoom in and zoom out stuff. And I would always click play. Now, okay, we're a little bit over the shoulder. You'll notice that here's dead center of the screen, right about where my mouse is, my cursor. Okay, it's off, and it's off to the shoulder. Okay, well, let's get field of view. What does changing the field of view do? Not really nothing. What's clipping planes? Okay, well, clipping plane is where you can see things, right? How far away something is and all that stuff. But I would literally just go in here and be like, all right, who can find where the camera, like how close the camera is to you? Or, what I'm saying? Like, oh, look at that. I see it. It's the field of view. Right. This is where, like, you have to teach the kids, play with it. Who can find it? If you click play and you mess around with all these settings, guess what happens? Nothing. Because after you unclick play, everything that you changed is undone. So who can find where the camera goes to? And like, do exactly what I did. Click everything that you can possibly click and be like, what does it do? Well, look, now my whole scene feels different. It feels more like a Gears of War style, or like a Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3 style, right? And I think this is cool stuff. So, when kids are turning it in, you might see that they might like a first-person point of view, which this is technically a third-person controller. But if you want, you can change where the location of this player armature is, right? This camera route, you can change it to be right on their face. And then you can just go to your camera settings and change the FO view and get in really great. I would actually put it in front of their face because you don't want the camera behind the head because it's going to see the character model in that case, right? By the way, there is a first-person character controller out there as well. And you could download that, put that into your scene if you want. Okay, we're almost done, and it is 5:56. We've been here for 2 hours. You guys are doing great. Absolutely great. There's one more thing I want to do with you all. And this is Pro Builder. I want to show you how to access it. I want to show you what the icons are. And I think I would much rather... Okay, we'll just do it. So if you downloaded it, it's under Tools. You go to Pro Builder. You go to Pro Builder window. Oh, you know what? We all have access to geometrics. And I am fairly certain that in geometrics there is a unit on Pro Builder in there as well that you could watch. But you're here with me. So you click on it, and this pops up. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I have very, very little experience with Pro Builder. I have probably between 4 and 5-ish hours working on Pro Builder. And that's just me messing around with it. I know that I don't like it here. I like it here when I have it on because it just gets in the way. Now, when you have Pro Builder on, you're going to notice you have these icons that will show up. Once you turn Pro Builder off, those symbols disappear. I could really use a whole class on Pro Builder, I'm going to be honest. So for us, we're going to create a new shape, and you have all these different shapes. You even have a doorway shape, which is the end part of my assignment with the kids. Use the doorway, bring it in here. And I want you to use it and mess with it and start figuring out how to, how to mess with it. So what Pro Builder is supposed to be for is quick and easy scene design. So that way, instead of doing cube, you could just go here and you can say create a cube, change its size, change its location. You don't have to go through all these stretching and stuff. Because you'll notice that when we used the cube and we made the level and the maze, when you stretched it stretched it from the center, right? It stretched it this way and it stretched it this way. Well, in this case, it gives you more control over your scene on how to edit those shapes. And it does give you different shapes to edit as well. And it gives you more. So you have your cube. Let's put a cube in here. Right. And we're gonna end it there with like the type of cube we got. And so like this is where you can change. You see what I'm saying? Like how much easier it is to change its size, for example. Right. Now on the exam, there are very few questions on Pro Builder, but there are roughly like 10 to 15. What are the questions? Number one, the icons. What are each icons? Now, ladies and gentlemen, sorry to say this, but the icons are not these icons anymore. These are the updated versions of the icons. I have a picture of those original icons. So if we do 2019 Pro Builder icons, you're going to notice that they are different than what we see now. The ones that we see now are so much better. Come on. Oh, man. In the PowerPoint, in the review, I have those icons and what they look like. Here we go. See these icons right here? These are the original 4 icons that you have to know for the exam. The reason they're changed is because the exam was written, I believe, pre-2021. I believe it was written in 2019. And in 2019, this was Pro Builder. But shortly after they wrote the exam, they realized that these icons could be better, more intuitive. And they changed them. We like companies that take feedback and change the way things look to make them easier. What we don't like are exams that haven't been updated to match what the current versions look like. However, if you were going to go with that concept, which one is, like, how up to date do you want this text? And how often do you need to update it? Because you got to pay people to update it. So you have object, you have vertex, you have edge, and you have face. These don't, I'll be honest, like the object one makes sense. The other 3 don't make any sense to me why they would be that way. This one looks like a face, so we'll go with it's a face. So which one's the edge and which one is a vertex? To me, this one looks like a cursor, which is pointing to a vertex. That's wrong. This one is an edge. Why would you give me a... Why not just have a line? Why not just have a single line? Right? Am I making sense here? Why not just a single line to represent edge? Why not have a single point to represent points? Why are you giving me 3 points? So, welcome to Unity certification. But that's what you guys are here for, right? These are the things you need to know. This makes sense. That's a face. That makes sense. Those look like edges. This says vertex selection. That's object. So object selection lets you change the object. The face, you select the face and you can change where the position is of the face, for example. You want to rotate the face. Right? Now, that makes a lot of cool sense now. You're like, wait. Hold on a second. So can I make a slope? Oh, I can make a slope. It's super, super powerful now, right? Like, you have to open it up. Somebody should, like, walk you through it for the first time, like what I'm doing, and it makes so much more sense. So then what if I choose an edge? Can I rotate an edge? Yes, yes. So Pro Builder works with these guys over here. Can I change the location? Yes, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. Oh my goodness, it's so powerful at this point. You want to change a vertex, go to a vertex, and you can change where that point is located as well. I really would like to sit down and make my own Pro Builder unit and come up with like my own shape and be like, all right, using Pro Builder, can you recreate this shape? That would be kind of cool. So yeah, there you go. And I'm deleting that because it's a travesty. It looks like an enemy from Borderlands. Not nearly as good though. So yeah, that's Pro Builder, and this is for me a single day unit where I'm like, all right, we're going to use Pro Builder. We're going to insert these shapes. We're going to edit these certain things. Here's face, here's edge, what exactly I just did to you. And then the last thing I want you guys to do is explore the shapes. By the way, you have shape properties as well. You can choose which type you want. So if the icon doesn't make sense to you, or if you know you're looking for stairs, for example, you can create your stairs, right? It's really nice. Helps you out. You can do by count. You can do by, you can add more or less stairs. You can do circumferences, right? Like you can change like rotating. It's really cool. So like this is something I wish I spent more time on, but like I said, I've only got like 4 or 5 hours in Pro Builder because I've spent most of my time coding and trying to make like turn-based games. I've really spent a lot of my time lately trying to manipulate third character controllers like the one we see now. I'm trying to apply different animations, like a crouch animation. I made a crouch animation. I made a sliding animation. I was able to do a parkour animation where he jumped over something. And that takes a lot, like for me, learning how to apply those things takes a lot of work. Opening and closing a door, adding a collider to that. So like I wanted to have, 3 objects that were grouped together, and one was a door frame, and there's a piece of a door and a piece of a door. And when an object came in, I wanted these 2 pieces to just change their location and look like it was opening and play a sound. And so that involved using a game object that you couldn't see. So I put a cube in front of it and I turned off its visual. So let me show you real quick. I'm going to turn off Pro Builder. This object right here. Let's do the sphere actually. So the sphere is there. Notice I got it here. If you turn this button off, you can't see it. It's still there in the scene, but you can't see it, right? And that's a super important concept, because what you can do is you can use the visuals of something and you can turn off its visual. You can still have something present and turn its visual, and it still is there. So we call these colliding. I use those for event collisions, events. So when I see, when I walk into it, it triggers something. There's a really good Unity Learn tutorial called John Lemon's Haunted House where I first learned this, and we used these colliders, and so like which usually turn off the mesh renderer or whatever it was. In order to do that, but that's way advanced, right? So like I'm just telling you, these are things that are possible. What's really cool is if you have like Elden Ring in your classroom, if you have somebody bring an Elden Ring on a computer, there's this thing called the Elden Ring tool, the ER tool. And what it does is you can turn it on, and this is something I do, is you can turn it on and it shows you all of the live in game. It shows you those event detection objects, and they show up in a very particular color. They're green, and when you walk into it, it triggers something. But yeah, no, we're basically done at this point. This is over. This whole we're done. Right now, it's just talking and reviewing. I appreciate you guys showing up. I will definitely shoot you all a follow-up email, which has like links to assets used. It'll contain the a Word file with this assignment. It'll contain a PowerPoint with a follow-up set of questions for this that you can use. So yeah, that's it.
All right, I'll try to catch up with you again a little later, though, when I have this thing functioning properly.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, you take care. So Matt and Aaron, if you have any questions, if you want me to stay behind, if you need anything, you let me know. Other than that, like this unit is like a 2-week unit, and it's honestly a lot of fun. Gets the kids involved, gets them making something. You're gonna have errors yourself, but I really enjoy making a maze and having them do something with it.
Yeah, I don't know if Matt has a question, but so I'm can I share what I'm working on right now?
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
cool. Hang on a second. I'm a share screen thing.